Welcome back to Lesson 7 on using TurboCAD to draw model airplane plans. If you recall in Lesson 6, we pretty much finished up drawing the wing, the spars, the 1/16 inch plywood dihedral brace, as well as a sample rib for at least the end and middle ribs of the snapper. And what we'd like to do now is to focus on the fuselage. And I'll slide over here. What I've done just for discussion purposes is I've taken the yard ace and copied it from the original plan and just have the fuselage side and top views to kind of show the destination we want to go from the snapper frame to this finished fuselage right here. Fuselage is actually pretty simple because what I use for building materials on the fuselage is primarily 1/8 inch square balsa for the frame itself, for plywood for the front three to make a strong little box, 1/16 inch plywood for the firewall, the side, and the first one back, F3. Maybe a 1/16 inch sheet former, we'll see how the construction goes, and then either 1/16 or 1/32 inch for the top cowl, which is just a decorative cowl. And the one exception being the balsa that'll be needed for the wing saddle. We'll make that 1/8 inch balsa just for strength, and we'll show how to do all that in a moment. But what we want to do now is start putting together what eventually will be the plan for the snapper. So the scroll wheel, let me zoom out a little bit. We'll just take our completed wing, because that's already done, and start that down here. We have the two 1/16 inch spars. We'll go ahead and move that down here, and left click out. Let me zoom down just a little bit, and just for space purposes, we'll go ahead and put these two spars one under the other. Left click out of there, and so we'll scroll back. We have the 1/16 inch plywood dihedral brace. We'll put that down here for now. I'll scroll in. We have a sample cutout rib. Let me zoom out. We'll left click to move that, and we'll put that just here for now. And then finally, let me zoom in on this rib here. This is a sample rib. Let me go ahead and copy and paste that because we don't want to lose anything on it. I'll move that down. We'll rotate it 90 degrees. Again, left click on the green handle. Once close to vertical, shift key, let go of the click, and now that's vertical. F5 to clear up artifacts. We'll select that, left mouse button, and we'll move that down here. So again, just a very rough collection of things that are done. Now these working drawings of the wing, we'll go ahead and move that into our hold file just in case you want to go back and reference it at any time. We'll go ahead and hit save. So what we're going to do now, this is a snapper wing pretty much done. You can see we filled in the frame, and we're going to start working on the fuselage at this time. What we'll do is we'll go ahead and select the frame just to have something to work on. So let's left click to select all of this. We'll copy it and we'll paste, and we'll just paste over here on this side. Deselect it, and let's bring this over here just so we have something to compare it to, and we'll move that over here and left click out. Now, with the snapper frame, what we're going to do is fill in the side and top view with structure. You can see where the wing goes. It's actually, just for planning purposes, actually on the bottom of the fuselage, but it's the location, fore and aft, that's important. We're not going to worry about the tail on this top view. That's going to be another lesson. So let's just go ahead and get rid of the tail portions. We're just left clicking and deleting, so that we can just focus on the fuselage itself. We can left click, select all these, and now we've gotten rid of the tail. And also on the front view, because the motor doesn't really matter for building the frame, it's a group, we can select it, and let's just put that motor over here for now. We'll just have it hold right here. So what we're going to do is take this frame, essentially fill it in with structure. We don't need the, we'll keep this here for now. I might need it later on. and fill it in with structure to eventually come up with a completed fuselage. The fuselage, as I mentioned, is pretty easy. So what we do is it's the parallel tool. Make sure your snaps are off. We just select the line and we come down tab -1/8, enter. That's just the 1/8 inch square balsa. Same on the bottom here. We click with the parallel tool, tab 1/8, enter. Same for the tail. Move this over, tab 1/8, enter. And the same for the, as we build the tail, we just click on this. Remember, when we move it this way, if you look on the offset down here in the lower left, it's negative inside, positive outside. If for whatever reason the parallel lines pop outside, you just have the plus or minus mixed up. Tab -1/8, enter. And we can just continue doing this. You can see for the rudder comes in, tab 1/8, enter, and so forth. Tab -1/8. I think you get the general idea how we can use this parallel tool to just build the 1/8 inch structure throughout the model. Now we're going to have one little thing we want to do is to build in incidence on the firewall F1 for the model. So let's go ahead and we'll zoom in. And we're going to select this line. Our snaps are off, and we're just going to get rid of that because that is zero down thrust. What we'll do is we'll go ahead and select the line tool. We'll just click here in the middle of the drawing, hold down the shift key so it's straight vertical, and we'll go ahead and left click, select that line. Notice here the rotation is 0. When we rotate it down, notice the numbers get positive. So what we want to do is just tab over towards rotation and put in 2, enter, and now we have exactly 2 degrees of down thrust on the firewall. We'll go ahead and move that over here. Just a little bit of overlap on the overlap of the top lines. We'll use our parallel command again. We'll select this, move it over, tab 1/8 on the offset. And now we have the 1/8 inch firewall holder in place at the correct angle. So let's just trim this for a second, just what we've been doing all along. Cutting edge, trim, trim, escape. We'll set this as the cutting edge, trim, trim, left click, escape, and cutting edge, trim, trim, escape. And what we'll do is we'll make this 1/8 inch member go all the way up. So we'll just trim here, excuse me, wrong, trim, click the cutting surface here and here, and you can see that we have the 1/8 in front there. We'll get rid of this line right here. We'll trim this, and that's that. And you can see that you do similar trims all along here. If you want to clean up this end, it's just like we've done many times before. Cutting edge, left click, like that. Cutting edge, left click, and you get the idea how you can clean up all your intersections just with the trim. And we'll actually build on this. If you want to put a cross member in, again, very easy, just with the line tool. We'll go ahead and just put one in, say here, left click, hold down the shift key to make it horizontal, parallel, select, offset is negative, tab -1/8, insert, and then trim like this. And then for this intersection here is we're going to have to do the split entity. We'll zoom in on this just a little bit. Again, we'll go ahead and have this member go up and down all the way, so we'll split entity right here. Then trim, cutting edge, left click, 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 escape, cutting edge again here, escape, F1 to clean up the artifacts, and the same finally over here. We'll just clear this up right here. And so you get the idea how this goes on. We'll put in another 1/8 square eventually for the rudder. This is the end of the fin, the rudder, but I think you get the general idea. Notice the angle here. You have to think ahead for where the elevator is going to be. The stabilizer is right along here. The elevator is over here. Just for simplicity, this gives room for the elevator to go up. It'll just have a simple tail skid in on the end. Now, the moments are important here with the snapper frame. We've got the wing in place here. So what we want to do is, at your leisure, you can add whatever decorative elements you want. Notice we have a very straight fuselage top deck here. You might want to, I'm scrolling with a scroll wheel here, you might want to put a line, let's just put a line a little bit up here, and we'll hold down the shift key to keep it level. And then we're going to have another line from here to here, just to have a little bit of a top deck on a cowl. And for the line, we'll go ahead and do the vertex, keep that here at the end, turn that off, keep it lined up so that it goes up like this. Now we can trim that. This again just for the purposes of explanation of how to draw the formers. It could be anything you want. We'll trim, escape, cutting edge, trim, escape, and we'll keep this as the cutting edge right here. And you'll see how we're going to use this in a second for drawing the formers. So again, you can make this as high, as far back. You might want a turtle back on the back. For the purposes of the snapper, I'm just going to keep it flat for simplicity of construction. But again, your option how you want to do that. And of course, the motor goes on to the front here. At this time, we're going to go ahead. Let me just add the 1/8 inch square here. We'll tab -1/8, enter, and we'll do the same here. Tab -1/8, enter. And just let me clean that up for a bit. Trim here, escape, trim cutting surface, and escape, and then we'll trim this right here. Good. All right. Oh, and then we'll let me add the parallel here, and we'll be done. Tab 1/8, enter, and we'll trim that like so. Escape. Okay, so now we have the general shape of the front. Again, aerodynamically performance, the cowls, the turtle decks, is just whatever you desire for appearance's sake. Now what we're going to do is show how to draw the three formers. I'm scrolling around here. We'll just kind of, let me select that. We'll bring these down here, and again, former 1 goes here, former 2 is plywood, it's a brace here, and former 3 goes right behind here. The three together, glued together, make a very strong box with the motor on F1, the landing gear to F3, and F2 holding it all together. It's a great way to make a lightweight, strong little box. We don't need that strength for the servos and things like that. Now, before we do the servos, let's just put in, what I'm going to do is go ahead and get rid of the wing for now, at least the top half, and go ahead and connect those two lines. We'll do a vertex snap here to here, and we'll just leave that for now. With a parallel line, just let me put in a 1/8 inch in front. It's trying to snap somewhere. We don't want to do that, so we'll tab -1/8, enter, and then we'll just put 1 down here. You'll see why we're going to do this in a second. Tab -1/8, enter, and tab 1/8. And we won't bother cleaning that up now just to save some time on the tape, and we'll save. Now, what we're going to do is very similar to what we did with the wing ribs. We're going to draw the formers, but we're not going to measure anything. We're just going to do it off of the construction lines on the fuselage itself. So let me get rid of that right here. So let me get rid of the airfoil for now. We're not going to use it right now. We'll save, and what we're going to do is we are going to select all of this, we're going to copy it, and we're going to paste. And what we're going to do is we're going to rotate it 90 degrees. Close to 90. Once we get there, hold down the shift key, let go of the mouse button, and now we have the fuselage completely aligned 90 degrees. And you'll see how this is going to work in a second. Now let's draw former number 1. Okay, the height of the former is pretty easy. We're going to use a horizontal construction line. We're going to snap to the end of a vertex, which is a line, and we're just going to snap to this vertex right here, and here's the bottom of F1 right there. We'll escape, use a vertical construction line still snapping to the vertex, end, and end. Escape. So you can see this box is the height and width of F1. We're going to put one more line in there that'll be pretty important, because that'll be the top of the curved portion like this, and escape. Now what we're going to do is snap to the intersection. So we'll click this, we'll get rid of the vertex, and we're going to draw in the fuselage F1. We'll click the line tool. Again, we'll snap to the intersection. So let's just zoom in just a little bit more here, so we can see that. And there's the nose. We'll just click here, left click, left click, left click, left click. See, it's snapping to the intersection. Now here's an interesting thing that we're going to do. We're going to take a construction line, and we are going to get rid of the intersection and snap to the middle point of this line right here. You can see the little diamond. So we click there, escape. And now we're going to go back, deselect the midpoint, go to the intersection snap, and we're going to use the arc start included end. And by the snaps, it's going to go right to where we need it. So it snaps here. You can see the triangle, this middle point, and at the end, double click, and you're finished. So you can see by using the construction lines, it's just the right width, it's just the right height for the curve, and everything matches up. So there's no need to measure, but it fits right on. Let's go ahead and clear the construction lines. And there is your F1 right there. Now, let's go ahead and go back one, and we're going to go ahead and do former number F3 right now behind F1. So we will select this F1. Remember, the construction lines just stay there, and we'll move this over here. Again, that little tone is trying to snap somewhere, so we'll turn off the snaps. Now the F3 is going to go right in front of this wing leading edge. Just let me draw that in for the heck of it. So I'll take the line tool and I'll just draw the line, shift to make it vertical, and we're going to use a parallel tool. We'll move it just a 1/16 of an inch. It's going to be 1/16 inch ply, tab 1/16, enter, and we'll trim that to make sure that that's even. Escape, lower side, actually we'll escape, we'll trim it inside here. I want to see what's going on. Let me use the airfoils to trim here. Escape, and now it's just, this is all by itself. I'll simply select it and delete. Okay, scrolling back out with a trim wheel. So here's where F3 is going to be located. Notice that it's straight up and down. The difference is, just imagine F3 is the same one here in the top view. We have to make cutouts for the 1/8 inch square that's going to be on each side, and you'll see how we do that. That'll be the one difference in F1. So what will happen is, just like before, we're going to pick a intersection snap with the line tool, and we're just going to draw, this is again is F3 over here like this. Left click, it's snapping to the intersections, and so we just have a nice good box right here. So you can see it's just the right height, and down below here is the same thing with the curve. We'll select this right here, 1, 2, 3. Double click to finish that off. We'll trim out these corners here in a moment, and what we're going to do is show the cutouts for the 1/8 inch square that goes here, 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 here. So let's take a look at that right now. Let's go ahead and see how we can trim this. We'll go ahead and try the trim here, see if this is going to work. Yep, it does. And cutting edge here, here. Escape. We're just going to simply select this top half on our own. Delete. We don't really need the construction lines anymore, but we'll leave them in for now. And what we're going to do is just to draw the 1/8 inch squares on the top. So there's a couple ways to do it. We can just use this, the parallel tool, tab -1/8 insert. And then what we're going to do is we'll move this bottom line up, tab 1/8 to get that exact. And then we will draw a line in. We'll go ahead and go to the intersection just to have a placeholder here. Escape, get rid of the snap, parallel tool, move this down, tab -1/8, enter. And you can see that this is where we're going to do the 1/8 inch cutout. So we'll use a split entity, excuse me, put this here and here. We'll use our trim tool, cutting edge, click, click to trim that out, escape, split entity to split this up right here, trim tool, cutting edge, click, escape, cutting edge, click, escape. And then we still use the cutting tool. We'll trim this, escape, cutting edge, trim, escape, and cutting it. Just get going there. Trim tool, cutting edge, click, escape. And there we have the cutouts right there. And you do the same thing on the other side. And so what we can do, just as a demonstration, we'll go ahead and select all this right now. We get it away from the construction lines. You can see how we have had it just the right angle, and this is the beginning. We do the same thing with the parallel tool to move this in, select it 1/8 inch, and do the same thing on the other side. And then this line can eventually be split again right here, trim, and you can just see by using the trim you can make the part look like what you want. And the other thing you could do, just to show you a different technique, is that you could have taken the midpoint of this, drawn a line up, done the mirror half. Again, as always with TurboCAD, there's several different ways to do the same task. Once this is done, there's a couple techniques. You can draw a rectangle. You can just take that and move it around anywhere you want in the middle, just spaces for wires and things like that. And so that is initially how you do the F3. The final former that I want to show on this demonstration is the F2 that goes between F1 right here and F3 over here. Again, it's not hard to do that, and the easiest way is we essentially have that drawn here on the side view. So what we're going to do is the 1/8 inch squares on the outside, the F1 is going to be on the inside, just reinforcement. It's very easy. Just to make sure all the snaps are off, we're just going to select this front end. We're going to copy the fuselage, we'll zoom out, and we're going to paste. We move this down here, and what happens is this section right here is the F2. So we can start trimming away the fuselage structure we don't need. This is the trim we've used before. And we can select, these are just up at top, we don't need to trim them. We simply select and hit the delete key. Take a look at what this guy's doing. It's just its own entity right there. We can get rid of the wing. For this F1, click this line, delete, and as we eventually get down to just what we need, we'll trim this one right here. Trim this one. Oops. Meant to select that. Select and delete. We'll trim. And basically, this is F2 that is all that we need for the cutout part itself, just by taking away those portions of the structure that we don't need. Let me just trim this up here. And we'll trim this right like this. So this is exactly the right size, and what you can do if you wish is to draw again a rectangle inside if you want some more cutout just for spacing purposes. To make it a little bit lighter, we can move this around as we see fit. If you want to make it just a little bit prettier, you can match the angle of the lower side right there, putting in a line. Again, we just simply trim that away. Escape, trim, 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 escape. And just position that anywhere you want inside for the cutout. And that is Fuselage Former F2 that goes on the side, and you'll find that the combination of F1, F3, and F2 all epoxied together makes for a very strong box on how you can make it for just a strong box with landing gear for strength. So again, after the video, I'll go ahead and complete this fuselage with the formers on lesson 8. You'll see what that looks like. We'll make some comments, especially the wing saddle F1 and how it all goes together. But the main points being rotating the fuselage, using construction lines to very accurately draw your formers, and there's no need to measure.